The massive alien ships appeared in Earth's sky without warning, hanging there like giant silver storms ready to strike. Commander Jake Morrison pressed his face against the small window of his underground bunker, watching in horror as the strange vessels began their work. These weren't here for conquest or communication. They had come to steal. "What the hell are those things doing?" whispered Sergeant Lisa Thompson, her fingers flying across the monitoring equipment. The screen showed feeds from cameras all over the world, and what she saw made her stomach turn. The alien ships were hunting, but not for humans. Giant beams of light shot down from their hulls, and wherever those beams touched, animals simply vanished. A herd of elephants in Kenya disappeared in seconds. A pod of whales in the Pacific Ocean got sucked up like they weighed nothing. Even tiny creatures weren't safe. Flocks of sparrows, entire ant colonies, house pets from suburban neighborhoods. Everything was being taken. "Sir, they're collecting every living thing on the planet," Lisa reported, her voice cracking. "Dogs, cats, wild animals, farm animals, even the fish from the oceans. It's like they're emptying out a massive aquarium, and Earth is that aquarium." Jake watched a group of lions vanish from an African plain. One moment they were there, the next they were gone, pulled up into the belly of the alien ship above. His hands clenched into fists. Those weren't just animals being stolen. They were Earth's children, the creatures that made their planet alive and beautiful. The aliens worked with cold precision, like scientists collecting specimens. Their technology was beyond anything humans had ever seen. The beams could pick up a single butterfly or an entire pack of wolves with equal ease. Nothing escaped their notice. Dolphins, eagles, bears, rabbits, snakes, insects, species that had taken millions of years to evolve, were disappearing in minutes. From his hiding spot in a London subway tunnel, Captain Robert Hayes listened to the terrible silence growing above ground. No more barking dogs. No more chirping birds. Even the buzz of insects had stopped. The city that was once full of pigeons, urban foxes, and the occasional rat had become a ghost town in the truest sense. "How long has it been?" asked Dr. Amanda Clark, the marine biologist who had been trapped underground with him when the ships arrived. 3 days, Robert answered, checking his watch. 3 days of watching their world get stripped bare. 3 days of helplessness as creatures they'd grown up with, loved, and studied simply vanished into the alien ships above. The worst part was the efficiency of it all. The aliens weren't cruel or violent. They were methodical. They had clearly studied Earth from a distance, cataloged every species, every ecosystem. They knew exactly what they wanted, and they took it all. Rainforests, coral reefs, Arctic tundra. No habitat was overlooked. When the ships finally finished their harvest, they lingered for a few hours, presumably organizing their massive collection. Jake imagined the chaos inside those vessels. Millions of confused, terrified animals from every corner of Earth, suddenly ripped from their homes and thrown together in alien containers. Then, as suddenly as they had arrived, the ships departed. They rose into the atmosphere and disappeared among the stars, leaving Earth eerily quiet. No morning bird songs, no distant wolf howls, no buzzing bees or chirping crickets, just wind blowing through empty cities and across barren landscapes. Robert and Amanda emerged from the underground to find London transformed into something from a nightmare. The parks were empty. The Thames had no fish, no water birds, nothing. Even the city's famous ravens were gone, stolen along with everything else. "They missed us," Robert said quietly, looking around at the desolate streets. It was true. Somehow, the aliens had overlooked humans entirely. Maybe they had been too focused on what they considered real wildlife. Maybe humans, hiding in their concrete buildings and underground spaces, didn't register as worth collecting. But the aliens had made a terrible mistake. They had assumed humans were just another species of tool-using animal, insignificant compared to the majestic creatures they had come to steal. They didn't understand what they were dealing with. They had just stolen the family members' companions, and beloved creatures of Earth's most dangerous predator. And now that predator was very, very angry. On a world thousands of light years from Earth, the alien scientists celebrated what they believed was their greatest scientific triumph. Dr. Veltar shuffled to the massive glass domes that now housed Earth's stolen wildlife, his forearms gesturing excitedly as he spoke to his research team. "Look at these fascinating creatures," he said in his native clicking language, pointing at a pack of gray wolves. "See how they move together in groups? Such primitive social behavior. They haven't evolved past their basic hunting instincts like we did millions of years ago." The HFY were proud of their peaceful civilization. They had long ago given up eating meat, fighting, or any form of violence. To them, Earth's animals were like living fossils from their own savage past. They found the whole concept of predator and prey to be charmingly old-fashioned, like studying ancient history. "And observe these aquatic mammals," Dr. Veltar continued, stopping at a massive water tank filled with dolphins. "They make these crude squeaking sounds to each other. Probably just basic mating calls or food requests. Nothing like our sophisticated telepathic communication." What the alien scientists didn't realize was that they were making a deadly mistake. They saw Earth's animals as simple, instinct-driven creatures who couldn't adapt or think beyond their basic needs. They had built their containment systems based on this assumption, treating their captives like beautiful but mindless decorations. In the wolf enclosure, a large gray male that Earth survivors would call Ghost pressed his nose against the energy barrier that kept him trapped. His yellow eyes weren't wild or panicked like the aliens expected. Instead, they were calculating, studying. He had spent days watching the patterns of the barrier's energy pulses, noting when the guards changed shifts, memorizing the layout of the facility beyond his prison. The other wolves sensed his focus and gathered around him. Without making a sound, they began to communicate through subtle body language, ear positions, and eye contact. The HFY researchers, watching from their observation deck, cooed with delight at what they thought was adorable pack bonding behavior. Meanwhile, in the aquatic section, the dolphins were far from making simple squeaking sounds. The large bull dolphin that the aliens had labeled Subject, Seven was actually coordinating with his pod, using echolocation, in ways the HFY couldn't begin to understand. His clicks and whistles were bouncing off the facility's walls, mapping out the entire complex, finding weak points in the structure that the alien engineers had never considered. The dolphins had discovered something interesting. The facility's water circulation system connected all the aquatic enclosures, and their sonar revealed that certain frequencies could travel through the pipes to other sections of the complex. They were essentially building a communication network that spanned the entire facility. High above in the avian section, something even more remarkable was happening. A group of ravens had gathered in what animal behaviorists on Earth would call a conspiracy. These black-feathered masterminds were doing what ravens did best, solving problems and sharing information. The aliens had given them plenty of shiny objects to play with, thinking it would keep them entertained. Instead, the ravens were using these tools to test their cage mechanisms, probe for weaknesses, and even attempt to pick locks. Their intelligence was far beyond what their captors imagined possible. One large raven had figured out how to manipulate a feeding mechanism to stay open longer than intended. Another had discovered that dropping certain objects created echoes that revealed hidden passages in the facility's walls. They shared this knowledge with their fellow ravens through a complex system of calls and gestures that the HFY dismissed as mere noise. In the deepest sections of the facility, the marine invertebrates were conducting their own investigations. Several octopi had begun systematically testing every surface of their tanks, using their incredible problem-solving abilities to understand how their prisons worked. Their 8 arms probed every corner, every joint, every potential weakness with scientific precision that would have impressed human engineers. The octopi had already figured out how to change their skin patterns to communicate with each other through the glass walls. They were sharing information about guard schedules, facility layouts, and potential escape routes. Their intelligence was so alien to the HFY way of thinking that the researchers completely missed what was happening right in front of them. Dr. Veltar and his team continued their observations, making notes about quaint behavioral patterns and primitive social structures. They were so convinced of their own superiority that they failed to notice the most important thing happening in their facility. The Earth animals weren't just surviving in captivity. They were studying their captors, learning the facility's weaknesses, and slowly organizing themselves for something the peaceful HFY had never experienced in their entire evolutionary history. They were planning a war. 6 months had passed since the day Earth fell silent, and survivors had spent every waking hour preparing for the impossible. Major Tom Bradley stood on a makeshift platform in what used to be downtown Colorado Springs, looking out at the faces of 300 people, all that remained a city that once housed 500,000 souls. Behind him sat their greatest achievement and most desperate gamble, a spacecraft built from scrapped alien technology, human ingenuity, and pure determination. It looked like something a child might build from spare parts, angular, mismatched, and held together with welds that sparked in the morning sun. But it would fly, and more importantly, it would take them to their stolen family members. "Listen up, everyone," Tom called out, his voice carrying across the silent crowd. "Dr. Jennifer Mitchell has done something incredible. She's cracked the alien navigation systems they left behind when they took our animals." The crowd stirred with hope and fear in equal measure. These weren't soldiers or astronauts. They were teachers, mechanics, nurses, farmers, and shop owners who had been thrust into an impossible situation. But they were also parents who had watched their children cry for missing pets, and partners who had lost beloved companions that had been part of their families for years. Dr. Mitchell stepped forward, holding a tablet filled with alien symbols that glowed softly in the dim light. She was a computer programmer who had worked for a small tech company before the abduction. Now she was humanity's best hope of understanding alien technology. "The Kethvar ships dropped navigation beacons when they left," she explained, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what she was announcing. "I've been working day and night to decode their language and star charts. I know where they went. I know where our animals are." She paused, letting that sink in. "Their home world is 47 light years away. With the faster-than-light drive we've cobbled together from their leftover tech, we can reach them in about 3 weeks. It's not going to be comfortable, and honestly, I can't guarantee we'll make it back. But we can get there." The crowd erupted in murmurs and whispered conversations. Some people looked terrified at the thought of traveling through space in what was essentially an experimental aircraft. Others looked ready to leave immediately. Everyone understood what this meant. They finally had a chance to bring their loved ones home. Across the Atlantic Ocean, in the ruins of London, Captain Robert Hayes was having a similar conversation with his own group of survivors. They had built their spacecraft in an abandoned aircraft hangar, using parts salvaged from alien debris and whatever human technology they could find. Every creature they stole was part of our world. Robert told his team of 60 volunteers. The guide dogs that helped blind people navigate the city. The therapy animals that comforted sick children in hospitals. The working dogs that helped police keep people safe. The horses that carried tourists through Hyde Park. Even the pigeons that annoyed us every morning. They were all part of what made Earth feel like home. His voice grew stronger as he continued. "We don't leave family behind. That's not who we are as a species. If our animals are out there in some alien zoo, then we're going to bring them home, no matter what it takes." Similar scenes were playing out in survivor camps around the world. In Tokyo, a group of engineers had built a ship from bullet train parts and alien technology. In Sao Paulo, veterinarians and zookeepers worked alongside mechanics to create their own rescue vessel. In Sydney, marine biologists who had devoted their lives to studying whales and dolphins refused to let their life's work disappear into alien captivity. None of these human groups knew about the others. Communications between continents had been difficult since the abduction, with most satellites damaged or destroyed. Each group thought they were humanity's only hope, carrying the weight of an entire planet's lost creatures on their shoulders. What they didn't know was that their timing was perfect in a way they couldn't have imagined. 47 light years away, on the alien world of Keth Prime, something remarkable was happening. The Earth animals weren't just surviving in their glass prisons. They were adapting, learning, and most importantly, they were getting angry. The wolves had spent months studying their captors' routines, noting every weakness in their security systems. The dolphins had mapped the entire facility using echolocation and had figured out how to communicate with animals in other sections through the water pipes. The ravens had been solving puzzles and picking locks while their alien keepers thought they were just playing with toys. Even the smaller animals were contributing to what was becoming an unprecedented alliance. House cats had learned to move through ventilation systems, gathering intelligence on areas other animals couldn't reach. Dogs were using their incredible sense of smell to track guard movements and identify weak points in the facility's defenses. The aliens, in their peaceful naivety, had no idea they were housing hundreds of Earth's most intelligent and adaptable creatures in what was essentially a pressure cooker of mounting fury and careful planning. The hunt was about to begin on both ends of the galaxy, and the HFY War were about to learn why Earth had produced the most dangerous predator in the known universe, and why that predator never, ever abandoned its pack. The escape began in the darkest hour of the alien night, when most of the HFY War facility staff were sleeping in their quarters. Ghost, the gray wolf who had become the unofficial leader of the mammal section, lifted his head and let out a low, almost inaudible howl. It wasn't a sound of sadness or longing. It was a signal. For months, the Earth animals had been planning this moment. Ghost and his pack had discovered that the electromagnetic barriers holding them had a pattern. They pulsed every 37 seconds, creating a brief window where the energy field weakened just enough for something fast and determined to slip through. But the wolves weren't acting alone. Deep in the aquatic section, the dolphin pod had made an incredible discovery. By timing their echolocation calls just right and working together, they could create sound waves that interfere with the facility's computer systems. The alien engineers had never considered that their prisoners might use sound as a weapon. The dolphin leader, a massive bull that the researchers called Subject 7, began the coordinated attack. He and his pod started clicking and whistling in perfect harmony, their combined sonar creating a frequency that made the facility's water pumps vibrate and malfunction. Within minutes, the carefully controlled aquatic systems began to fail. High above in the bird section, the ravens were ready for their part of the plan. The largest raven, a bird so clever and commanding that any human would have called him king, had spent weeks teaching his fellow ravens how to work together in ways their captors thought impossible. They had learned to manipulate the feeding mechanisms, figured out how to jam security cameras with their wings, and most importantly, they had mapped every air vent and maintenance shaft in the building. As the dolphin's sonar attack disrupted the facility's main systems, King led his conspiracy of ravens through the ventilation system. They carried small objects they had been collecting for weeks, bits of metal, plastic pieces, anything that could be used to jam locks or disable sensors. In the deepest part of the facility, 8 octopi made their move simultaneously. These master escape artists have been studying the control panels in their tanks for months, memorizing every button, switch, and display. Their incredible intelligence and problem-solving abilities had allowed them to understand the alien technology in ways that even impressed the HFY War scientists. Working with perfect coordination, the octopi began manipulating control systems that managed the entire facility. Their 8 arms moved with surgical precision, bypassing security measures and opening containment barriers throughout the complex. Dr. Veltar was jolted awake by alarms screaming throughout the facility. He stumbled to his communication console, his forearms shaking as reports flooded in from every section of the complex. "Containment breach in Section 7, screamed one panicked voice. "The aquatic systems are failing," shouted another. "Sir, the flying creatures have somehow disabled 17 security cameras." Dr. Veltar's mind couldn't process what he was hearing. In all his years of study, he had never encountered anything like this. The Earth animals weren't just escaping randomly. They were working together with a level of coordination that shouldn't have been possible. "This is impossible," he chittered into his communicator. "These are primitive creatures. They don't have the intelligence for organized resistance." But the evidence was overwhelming. Wolves were slipping through temporarily disabled barriers. Dogs were following scent trails left by cats who had already scouted escape routes. Bears were using their incredible strength to break through weakened containment walls that the octopi had sabotaged from the inside. The HFY War had evolved beyond violence so long ago that they had no idea how to respond to an organized attack. Their security systems were designed to keep animals in, not to fight off a coordinated rebellion. Their peaceful society had no protocols for dealing with predators who could think, plan, and work together. Panic spread to the facility as alien researchers fled their posts. The Earth animals weren't just escaping. They were hunting their captors with the same intelligence and determination that had made them apex predators on their home world. Just as the facility's main containment barriers began to fail completely, something incredible happened. Human spacecraft appeared on the edge of the Kethvar system, their makeshift engines glowing against the alien stars. Major Tom Bradley's voice crackled through space on emergency frequencies. This is Earth Force One to any listening stations. We are humans from the planet Earth. We're here for our stolen animals, and we're not leaving without them. The timing was perfect in a way that neither humans nor animals could have planned. As the human rescue ships approached the planet, they received panic transmissions from the surface. The aliens were begging for help, claiming that their facility was under attack by impossible coordination between primitive Earth specimens. Tom looked at Dr. Mitchell, who was monitoring the alien communications with growing amazement. "Are they saying what I think they're saying?" he asked. Jennifer nodded, a smile spreading across her face for the first time in months. "Our animals aren't waiting to be rescued, Tom. They're rescuing themselves." As the human ships entered the planet's atmosphere, they could see the alien facility below them. Emergency lights were flashing, evacuation ships were fleeing, and somehow, incredibly, Earth-stolen creatures had already begun to free themselves. The hunt had come full circle. The predators were no longer the prey, and the Kethvar were about to learn a lesson that would change their understanding of intelligence, cooperation, and what it truly meant to be wild. The moment human boots hit the ground at the Kethvar facility, something magical happened. The escaped Earth animals didn't run from the armed soldiers. They recognized them immediately as allies. Ghost, the gray wolf who had led the breakout, approached Major Tom Bradley's team with his pack behind him, their tails wagging for the first time in months. "Well, I'll be damned," whispered Sergeant Lisa Thompson, lowering her weapon as wolves surrounded her squad. "They know we're here to help." The reunion spread throughout the facility like wildfire. Dogs who had been therapy animals rushed to comfort the human soldiers, recognizing the stress and exhaustion in their rescuers' faces. Cats appeared from ventilation shafts, purring and rubbing against familiar human legs. Even wild animals seemed to understand that these humans were different from their alien captors. In the flooded sections of the facility, something even more remarkable was happening. Captain Robert Hayes and his Marine team found themselves being guided through the dangerous waters by dolphins who had memorized every passage and current. The dolphins would swim ahead, then return to nudge the humans towards safe routes, their intelligence shining through every interaction. "It's like they've been waiting for us," Robert radioed to his command ship. "These dolphins are acting as our guides, showing us exactly where to go." The cooperation between human military precision and animal instinct created an unstoppable force. Ravens flew reconnaissance missions alongside human drones, their natural intelligence complementing advanced technology. Bears worked with human engineers to clear debris from blocked passages. Even the octopi emerged from their tanks to help human technicians understand the alien control systems they had been studying for months. Dr. Amanda Clark, the marine biologist who had been trapped in London during the initial invasion, finally confronted the alien scientists who had been studying Earth's creatures. Dr. Veltar was huddled in his laboratory, his forearms trembling as alarms continued to wail throughout the facility. "Please," he chittered in broken English, his translator device flickering. "We meant no harm. We are scientists. We study life forms." Amanda looked at him with a mixture of anger and pity. "You made one critical mistake," she said, her voice calm but firm. "You assumed that intelligence and civilization meant we had forgotten how to be predators. You thought that because we used tools and built cities, we were no longer dangerous." She gestured toward the chaos around them, where humans and animals worked together with seamless coordination. "But you were wrong. We didn't evolve past our predator instincts. We learned to channel them, to use them to protect the things we love. And you took the things we love most." The Kethvar surrender came faster than anyone expected. Within 6 hours of the human arrival, the alien leadership was broadcasting messages of complete capitulation. Their peaceful society had no defense against the coordinated fury of Earth's apex predators, both human and animal. But instead of vengeance, the humans offered something that surprised everyone, including themselves. Dr. Jennifer Mitchell stood before the terrified Kethvar Council with a proposal that would change the course of galactic history. "You're herbivores living in a galaxy full of predators," she explained, her tablet displaying star charts that showed various aggressive alien species throughout their region of space. You've managed to survive by hiding and avoiding conflict, but that won't work forever. Sooner or later, you'll encounter species that won't be as forgiving as we are. The lead HFY counselor, an elderly alien named High Scholar Nethrain, listened with growing understanding. What do you propose, human? Jennifer smiled. Partnership. We'll teach you how to defend yourselves, not to become violent, but to understand how predators think, how to recognize threats, how to protect your people. In exchange, you help us restore Earth's ecosystem with your advanced biotechnology. The agreement that followed transformed both species. The HFY learned that controlled aggression and protective instincts weren't character flaws. They were essential survival tools. They discovered that there was a difference between mindless violence and the fierce protection of family and home. For humans, the partnership opened up possibilities they had never imagined. HFY biotechnology could not only restore Earth's damaged ecosystems, but improve them. They could bring back extinct species, clean polluted oceans, and heal the scars left by centuries of industrial development. Months later, as the great bioships prepared to return Earth's stolen wildlife to their home planet, an unlikely friendship had formed on the command deck. Ghost, the wolf who had led the Great Escape, stood beside Major Tom Bradley, both of them looking out at the stars through the ship's massive viewport. Tom reached down and scratched behind Ghost's ears, the same gesture millions of humans had shared with their animal companions throughout history. The wolf leaned into the touch, his yellow eyes reflecting the starlight. "We did it, boy," Tom whispered. "We brought everyone home." But it was more than just bringing animals home. They had created something entirely new, a pack that spanned solar systems, a family that included not just humans and Earth animals, but reformed alien scientists who were learning what it meant to care for something beyond themselves. As Earth came into view, green and blue and beautiful, Ghost let out a howl that was answered by every wolf on every ship in the convoy. The sound echoed through the hulls, joined by barks, chirps, clicks, and even some alien chittering from their new HFY allies. Earth's apex predators had taught the galaxy an important lesson that would be remembered for generations. Never underestimate the bond between humans and the creatures they call family. And never, ever try to break that bond. Because when you mess with a pack, the entire pack comes for you.